Hey guys, Jason here, Samco Workshop, and today we have something interesting that I found here. This is the manual for my new Jeep Gladiator that I just got. And there is information in here that I promise you will make you a better off-roader than you've ever been before. I don't care how experienced you are. And, you know, I read every manual that I get on a vehicle. I don't read it start to finish, but I skim through every one of them. They also give you this little quick start reference guide, which I have never even looked at this other than that chart on the back that is showing me what some of the lights and things like that mean, so I will save that. But I do skim through everything, and while going through here, I happen to find a section in here on off-roading. It is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal, and we're going to read it together. So stick around if you want to learn something about how to off-road. And again, it's coming in an actual car manual. All right, so here we are. We are at the Mopar, the Jeep manual that I just showed you out there. Now, this is a digital version, so all of you guys can get it. Okay, you can just go right here at the top. You see it up here. We got www.mopar.com Jeep. But when you go, just search, and you can go there, and then you can find a Jeep manual online, and you can download it if you want to read this for yourself, even if you don't have a Jeep. Like I said, this is amazing. So anyway, I was browsing through this, looking at things, I always do, and I come across this section right here, the basics of off-road driving. Okay, we're going to dive into this here. This is pretty impressive. Now, you can read it and skip ahead if you want to as you're reading it, but I'm going to read it because there's some people that are just going to listen to this as they're driving or whatever. Excuse me for the coughing here, but you will encounter many types of terrain driving off-road. You should be familiar with the terrain an area before proceeding. There are many types of surface conditions: hard-packed dirt, gravel, rocks, grass, sand, mud, snow, ice. Every surface has a different effect on your vehicle steering, handling, and traction. Controlling your vehicle is one of the keys to successful off-road driving. So always keep a firm grip on the steering wheel and maintain good driving posture. Avoid sudden accelerations, turns, or braking. In most cases, there are no road signs, posted speed limits, or signal lights. Therefore, you will need to use your own good judgment on what's safe and what is not. When on a trail, you should always be looking ahead for surface obstacles, changes in terrain. The key is to plan your future driving while remembering where you are currently driving, what you are currently driving over. Okay, so let that sink in there for a minute, what he's saying here, because they get real detailed in here, and it's really, really good. But something you're going to hear over and over again: keep a firm grip on the steering wheel. Now, many new off-roaders do not know this, but when you get into like rocks and things like that and some of that kind of stuff, it is not a good idea to put your thumbs on the inside of your steering wheel. Okay, between the tang, to have it where it can rip your thumb out of there and hurt you pretty good. You want to make sure you got a good grip on there, but keep that in mind. Now, with hydraulic and electronic steering and stuff like that, it's a lot better than it was in the old days. But back in the old days, especially manual steered vehicles, this was a big no-no for you. Keep your thumbs outside of the steering wheel when you're grabbing it, because if it does jerk away from you, it's not going to hurt you. Again, not something major that we have to deal with now, but I love how they tell you, make sure you're holding onto the steering wheel, especially on rocks and ruts and things like that, because it'll rip it right out of your hands when they grab the wheels like that, especially if you're running bigger tires. Something to think about. Also, I love that they put this in here right here. It is recommended that the start-stop system be disabled during off-road use. Okay, that's a big one. Okay, that's huge. You don't want that on. You don't want to be halfway up a hill, and then you start, or whenever you press on the brakes to stop for a minute to figure out what to do for an obstacle, and have the thing turning off and turning on all the time. So shut that stuff right off automatically when you're off-road. And then another one too: firmly tie down cargo. They say it right here. Always wear your seatbelt, and right here, firmly tie down your cargo. And that's a very important one there too. If you watch YouTube, you see a ton of people that get into trouble spots and start bouncing around, and they're flinging coolers and gear and everything out of the back end. So something to think about right there. Now, when to use 4 low. All right. When off-road driving, shift into 4 low for added traction and control on slippery or difficult terrain, ascending or descending steep hills, and to increase low-speed pulling power. This range should be limited to extreme, okay, let that sink in, to extreme situations such as deep snow, mud, steep inclines, We'll cover that. Why steep inclines would you want to use for low? Steep inclines, because of gearing, but we'll see. and or sand whenever low-speed pulling power is needed. Vehicle speeds in excess of 25 miles per hour should be avoided when in 4-low range. Many people don't know that, okay? And then this one right here, never do this, okay? Do not use 4-low range operating a vehicle on pavement. Driveline hardware damage can result, okay? Many people know that, many don't. Now you do. Simultaneous brake and throttle operation. Many off-road driving conditions require the simultaneous use of brake and throttle, or called two-foot driving. When climbing rocks, logs, or other steep objects, using light brake pressure with light throttle will keep the vehicle from jerking and lurching. This technique is also used when you need to stop and restart a vehicle on a steep incline. Okay, and this is something that many people are not used to. They do not understand this concept, so it is something that I recommend you practice beforehand. And it's, when I say practice it, you can even do it at a mall or a Walmart parking lot when nobody's there at night. Just go there and practice controlling both of them, brake, gas, and get used to that, and get used to the fact that you're not going to always have your foot on what's called a dead pedal if your vehicle has one. Most Jeeps do not, so you are having your foot on the floorboard, but you're not going to have that perfect support system of your foot in a lot of that kind of technical stuff, and you're going to want to use both. It's interesting that they actually include this stuff in the manual. That's amazing. Driving in snow, mud, and sand, and this stuff gets really good here in a minute. Here, we're just going through it though. In heavy snow, for an additional control and traction at slower speeds, shift the transmission into a low gear and a transfer case into 4-low if necessary. Do not shift to a lower gear than necessary to maintain headway. Over revving the engine can spin the wheels and traction will be lost. If you start to slow to a stop, try turning your steering wheel no more than a quarter turn quickly back and forth while still applying the throttle. No more than a quarter turn. This will allow the tires to get fresh traction and help maintain your momentum. So what is this doing for you? You're sitting there and you're spinning and you're stuck by just swinging a little bit left and right, back and forth. Your tires get to grab some of that snow and use it for traction, because what happens in the snow is your tires are they're melting that snow from the heat, and they're turning it into ice, and it's getting very slippery. Well, this lets you, by rotating your tires a little left and right, lets you grab a little bit of fresh snow as traction and keep you moving forward. Again, something many people don't know. They put it in the manual. I love that. On caution, right here, on icy or slippery roads, do not downshift at high engine RPM or vehicle speeds, because engine braking might cause skidding or loss of control. Okay, that's a big deal for you manual guys. Not so much for the auto guys, but because you're not going to usually do that. But manual guys, it happens quite a bit. Now, mud, and again, I'm going through this pretty fast. Mud, deep mud here, there we go, right here. Deep mud creates a great deal of suction around the tires and is very difficult to get through. You should use drive with the transfer case in the 4-low position to maintain your momentum. Now, also, for you guys that are, when we're done with this off-road part, I am going to go ahead at the end of this video, as soon as we're done with that, I'm going to show you how to engage 4-high, 4-low, what you need to do, your lockers. They got it all in here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to read you what they tell you, but it's kind of the same thing for all vehicles, so it'll be valuable for you. You should use drive with transfer case in low position to maintain your momentum. If you start to slow to a stop, try turning your wheels no more than a quarter turn back and forth for additional traction. Same concept we did in the snow. Mud holes pose an increased threat of vehicle damage and getting stuck. Okay? All right, so you would expect a statement like that in any manual, but listen to this. I love that they put this in their actual manual because it's so real world. Ready? They are, talking about mud holes, they are normally full of debris from previous vehicles getting stuck. I love that. As a good practice for you before entering any mud hole, get out and determine how deep it is, or if there are any hidden obstacles, and if the vehicle can safely be recovered if it gets stuck. If you watch my videos and you watch my off-road videos and my how-to and how to not get stuck and how to get unstuck, how many times have you heard me say that in there? Walk your obstacles, walk your holes, okay? They say it right here in the manual. Let's look at the sand part here. Soft sand is very difficult to travel through with full tire pressure, okay? When crossing soft, sandy spots in a trail, maintain your vehicle's momentum and do not stop. The key to driving in soft sand is using the appropriate tire pressure, accelerating slowly, avoiding abrupt maneuvers, and maintaining your vehicle's momentum. If you are going to be driving on large, soft, sandy areas or dunes, reduce your tire pressure to a minimum, not a maximum, okay, but a minimum of 15 psi to allow for greater tire surface area. Reducing tire pressure will drastically improve your traction and handling while driving on the soft sand. But you must return the tires to normal air pressure before driving on pavement or other hard surfaces. Be sure you have a way to reinflate your tires prior to reducing the pressure. Okay, that's beautiful. And I love that they even give you a minimum of 15. Why is it a minimum of 15? If you go below 15 without bead locks, you got a risk of actually popping a bead off, and then your tire's completely flat and you're dead in the water right there. So it's to give you a perfect good fail-safe number that many people question and wonder what it would be. Well, there it is right there for you. And then they also tell you they're spot on. Make sure you got a way to, re-inflate your tires with you. Viair compressor in my truck all the time with me, everywhere. Caution, it says here, reducing tire pressure may cause tire unseating and total loss of air pressure. To reduce the risk of tire unseating, while at reduced tire pressure, reduce your speed and avoid sharp turns or abrupt maneuvers. Okay, that's what we're called popping a bead. Okay, same thing. That's why they tell you here a minimum, or keep it. Don't go lower than 15 psi, because unless you got bead locks on, which lets you get down to about 8 pounds. You run a risk of popping a bead off and the whole tire just being completely done until you get it to a dealer. Here, crossing obstacles, rocks, and other high points. Now, this takes many people. Many people that off-road right now have no idea about this. They do not even understand this. Today, they don't understand it. So this next stuff that's coming up here, they have no idea. So this is good information for everybody. But again, I love that they put it in an actual manual that comes with your vehicle. It should be standard for every four-wheel drive vehicle made today. They should be copying this and putting it in there. Crossing obstacle, rocks, and other high points. While driving off-road, you will encounter many types of terrain. These varying types of terrain bring different types of obstacles. Before proceeding, review the path ahead to determine the correct approach and your ability to safely recover the vehicle if something goes wrong. We call that picking your line. Okay, you hear people say that off-road all the time. What line do I want to run? Pick your line. That's what you're doing. Okay, it's like that in everything. Doesn't matter if you're running ATVs, side-by-sides, even in our snowmobile days, everything was about the line. Pick the line. You saw it before you even went up there, or before you went through whatever it was. You picked your line that you were going to go, that was going to be the route you want to take. It says, keep a firm grip on the steering wheel. Here we are hearing that again. Keep a firm grip on the steering wheel. Bring the vehicle to a complete stop and then inch the vehicle forward until it makes contact with the object. Then apply light throttle and holding light brake pressure, remember, 2-foot driving, and ease the vehicle up, on, and over. They're going to teach you how to cross all these kind of obstacles here in a minute. It's amazing, okay? Crossing, here's another warning here. We see it right here. Look at this. Warning. Crossing obstacles can cause abrupt steering system load, which could cause you to lose control of your vehicle. Again, holding onto that steering wheel, it can rip it out of your hands. They put it in a manual. I love it. Using a spotter. There are many times where it's hard to see an obstacle or to determine your correct path, or line, as we call it. Determining a correct path can be extremely difficult when you are confronting many obstacles. In this case, have someone guide you over, through, or around the obstacle. Have the person stand a safe distance in front of you where they can see the obstacle, watch your tires and your undercarriage, and guide you through. Okay, and when you're spotting somebody as a spotter, let me give you a tip here. Okay, there is no left or right. Okay, you don't tell anybody left or right when you're spotting them. the driver, you don't tell them that, because do you mean your left or their left? You're facing at them, they're facing at you. Never left and right. You always call it passenger or driver. If you want them to turn driver, you tell them turn driver. Or you see, and if you want them going to the passenger side, you tell them passenger, 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 and then they'll keep turning. Okay, then you say straight right there, driver, driver, and then they turn driver side. Never right and left. Okay, things that you'll learn when you get out there and do this, because first time you say right or left, they're going to go the opposite of what you're thinking. They're gonna. Here we go right here. Crossing large rocks. When approaching large rocks, choose a path. This is incredible. And again, it goes against what many people would think, but it is the smartest way to do this. And it takes many people years of failure to get this through their head. When approaching large rocks, choose a path which ensures you drive over the largest of them with your tires. Okay? Look at this. Let me highlight that. Choose a path which ensures you drive over the largest of them with your tires. Okay, that doesn't mean try to straddle the big rocks. It doesn't mean, anything like that. It means to actually put your tires on them. Drive over the biggest rocks that are there. Why? Well, it says right here. When approaching large rocks, choose a path which ensures you drive over the largest of them with your tires. This will lift your undercarriage up over the obstacle. The tread of the tire is tougher and thicker than a sidewall and is designed to take the abuse. Always look ahead and make every effort to cross large rocks with your tires. Okay? Caution. Right here, they got this little caution. Never attempt to straddle a rock that is large enough to strike your axles or undercarriage. Never drive over a rock which is large enough to contact the door sills when you get when you get over it, so you don't get high centered and you don't mess up your, you end up on your rock rails, or if you don't have rock rails, you end up on your rockers and wrecking stuff. I love it. Again, all in a manual. Look at this one. Here's two. I can't tell you how many times I see this here in Michigan. Down here in Georgia, but we got a lot of washout areas, okay? Washed out areas where flooding occurs, water runs down a hill, down a two-track or whatever, or even a road, and then it cuts across the road, washes out, and it creates a ravine in the road that can be, some of them can be 2 feet deep. And you see these tire tracks where people go to it with both wheels heading straight on. They drop into it, and then you can see where they fought like crazy and cut a bunch of branches and did everything they can to get out of it. This tells you right here the proper way to do it, okay? When you're crossing a ravine, gully, or ditch, washout, or large rut, the angle approach is the key to maintaining your vehicle's mobility. Approach the obstacle at a 45-degree angle and let each tire go through the obstacle independently. Okay? Think about that. Let that understand that. You don't go in straight, letting both front wheels drop in and try to climb your way out and then have the back end drop in, because again, you're fighting every angle you got. Your approach angle is screwed, your breakover is going to be screwed, your departure angle is going to be screwed, your traction is gone, you've got 2 wheels that are sunk, you're in a real major problem. If you do what they tell you here, you deal with it 1 wheel at a time, and the rest of your vehicle helps with the approach angles, the breakovers, the departures as you're going, because you only got 1 wheel in the hole and it's at an angle. So again, at an angle, or the best way when crossing a ravine, gully, or ditch, washout, or large rut, the angled approach is a key to maintaining your vehicle's mobility. Approach the obstacle at a 45-degree angle and let each tire go through the obstacle independently. You need to use caution when crossing large obstacles with steep sides. Do not attempt to cross any large obstacles with steep sides at an angle great enough to put the vehicle at risk for rollover. If you get caught in a rut, dig a small trench to the right or left at a 45-degree angle ahead of the front tires. Use the removed dirt to fill the rut ahead of the turnout you just created. You should now be able to drive out and follow your trench you just created at the 45-degree angle. They even tell you how to get out of it, okay, in a manual, in an owner's manual. I mean, seriously, this is incredible. I mean, I imagine there's a million attorneys out here that would just rip this apart for so many reasons, and yet Jeep chose to put it in, and I love it. Another one here, there's an increased risk of rollover when crossing an obstacle at any angle with steep sides. Crossing logs, they even teach you how to drive your Jeep over logs, okay? Crossing a log, approach at a slight angle, approximately 10 to 15 degrees. This allows one front tire to be on top of the log, while the other tire just starts to climb the log. While climbing the log, modulate brake and accelerator, 2-foot driving, to avoid spinning the log out from under your tires, then ease the vehicle off the log using your brakes. Okay. Caution here, again, do not attempt to cross a log greater diameter than the running ground clearance of the vehicle will become high-centered. Okay, common sense stuff, but they put it all right here for you. Now they're going to tell you what to do if you get high-centered. If you get hung up or high-centered on an object, get out of the vehicle and try to determine what the vehicle is hung up on, where it is contacting the underbody, and what the best direction to recover the vehicle is. Depending on what you are in contact with, jack the vehicle up and place a few rocks under the tire so that the weight is off of the high point, basically off the frame where you're centered on, when you let the vehicle down. You can also try rocking the vehicle or winching the vehicle off the object. Caution, winching, rocking the vehicle off of hard objects increases risk of underbody damage. But they teach you this right here in the manual. Hill climbing. Hill climbing requires good judgment as good understanding of your abilities and your vehicle's limitation. Hill climbing, hills can cause serious problems. Some are just too steep to climb and should not be attempted. You should always feel confident with your vehicle and your abilities. You should also climb hills straight up and down. Never attempt to climb a hill on an angle. Before climbing a steep hill, as you approach the hill, consider its grade and its steepness. Determine if it's too steep. Look to see what the traction is on the hillside of the trail. Is the trail straight up and down? What is at the top and the other side? Are there ruts, rocks, branches, or other obstacles in your path? Can you safely recover the vehicle if something goes wrong? If everything looks good and you feel confident, shift the transmission into a lower gear with 4 low engaged and proceed with caution, maintaining your momentum as you climb the hill. Driving up the hill. Once you have determined your ability to proceed and you've shifted into the appropriate gear, line your vehicle up for the straightest possible run. Accelerate with ease and constant throttle and apply more power as you start up the hill. Do not race forward into a steep grade. The abrupt change of grade could also cause you to lose control if the front end begins to bounce. Ease off the throttle slightly and bring all 4 wheels back down. As you approach the crest of the hill, ease off the throttle and slowly proceed over the top. If your wheels start to slip as you approach the crest of the hill, ease off the accelerator and maintain headway by turning the wheels no more than a quarter turn quickly back and forth, again trying to bite and find some traction. This will provide fresh bite into the surface and will usually provide enough traction to complete the climb. If you do not make it to the top, place the vehicle in reverse, back straight down the grade using engine resistance along with vehicle braking. For those of you that don't understand what that using engine resistance, it's basically it's engine braking, okay? And it's better than your brakes. It's mandatory that you use this stuff. In my snowmobile days, we would go out to Montana and we'd go out to Wyoming and stuff like that, and we would run these huge hills, and we'd go up there and you'd shoot, you'd climb, and you'd be just flying up this, you'd climb 1,000 feet up there in elevation above. You're already at 13,000 feet, but then you climb another 1,000 feet on this hillside, and then you just basically poop out before you can get to the top, and you got to turn out and come back down. Well, when you're coming down that steep of a hill, you hit your brakes, all they do is lock up and you go even faster. Okay, you have the best way to slow a snowmobile down coming down a fast hill like that is to actually hit the gas on the snowmobile. Hit the gas and let off. Hit the gas and let off. If you're in snowmobiling, and you ever watch people do those big hill climbs like that, when they're coming down, you'll hear them vroom, vroom, vroom. They do that. Why? Because if they just hit their brakes, the track locks up and it turns into an ice skate, and the whole thing just comes barreling down with no control. By hitting the throttle, you keep engaging the clutches and they keep causing engine resistance from the engine, and it slows it down even better. So you use a combination of brakes and engine braking, but then as that engine speed picks up and those clutches start going too fast, you hit the throttle again, drops that belt down lower in those clutches and slows it down even more. So it's the same concept as that. You want the engine braking working for you, okay? So you want to be in that low gear, and you want that engine to, revving high to slow you, rather than just relying on your brakes. And they say here, never drive across an incline, the side of a hill, because you don't want to roll over, obviously, here. Driving downhill. Before driving down a steep hill, you need to determine if it's too steep for safe descent. What's the surface traction? Is the grade too steep to maintain a slow, controlled descent? That's what we were just talking about. Okay. Are there obstacles? Is it a straight descent? Is there plenty of distance at the base of the hill to regain control if the vehicle descends too fast? Okay. If the hill's super steep with a hard, hairpin turn at the bottom of it, or you go off a cliff, I don't know if I'd go that way. If you feel confident in your ability to proceed, then make sure you are in 4 low for the engine braking. That's why we want 4 low on a downhill. We want that engine braking power. Okay, and proceed with caution. Allow engine braking to control the descent and apply your brakes if necessary, but do not allow the tires to lock. Okay, never descend a steep grade in neutral. Obviously, it's what we were just talking about. Driving across an incline, just don't do it because you'll roll over. Don't drive sideways on a hill. It's just plain and simple. If you stall or lose headway, back down slowly. Using brake, you start your, hit the brake, stop, start it again, and then back down. And you let the engine braking back you down. Don't just try to roll back down and think you'll restart it down at the bottom. You want the engine braking. And always go in a straight line. Here we go, driving through water. They're going to teach you in the manual of a brand new Jeep how to drive through waters. And not just waters, creek crossings. Okay, puddle crossings, flooded areas, standing water, ditches, streams, shallow rivers, flowing water. Do you see this in a manual? It's amazing. All right, driving through water. Extreme caution should be taken crossing any type of water. Water crossings should be avoided if possible and only be attempted when necessary in a safe, responsible manner. You should only drive through areas which are designated and approved. You should tread lightly and avoid damaging the environment. You should know your vehicle's ability and be able to recover it if something goes wrong. Let that sink in. Okay, pay attention to there. How are you going to get out if it fails? Is it a buddy that's going to pull you out? Can you self-recover? Do you have the gear to self-recover? If you don't know about this stuff, I got videos on it. They're on my channel. You just got to browse around there and look for them. Maybe I'll link some at the end of this. You should never stop or shut your vehicle off when crossing deep water unless you've ingested water into the engine air intake. If the engine stalls, do not attempt to restart it. Determine if it has ingested water first. Okay, you don't want to be hydrolocked out there. Your motor's done. The key to any crossing is low and slow. Shift into first gear for a manual transfer, drive for automatic with the transfer case in 4 low position, and proceed very slowly with a constant speed of 3 to 5 mile an hour maximum and light throttle. Keep the vehicle moving. Do not try to accelerate through the crossing. After crossing any high water higher than the axle differentials, you should inspect all the vehicle fluids for sign of water ingestions, like in your dips. But notice they said 3 to 5 miles an hour. Why is that? I have videos on that too. You want to ride behind a bow wave. Okay, when you first enter that hole, your vehicle is going to create a wave in front of you. If you are going 3 to 5 miles, you get to ride in a shallower water that you just placed at the beginning of that. You get to ride in the wave, or behind that wave of that water, which is actually the shallowest spot of that whole hole right now, because you displaced and pushed all that water forward when you first went in. 3 to 5 miles an hour, it lets you run behind a bow wave. Caution here too, water ingested into the axles, transmission, transfer case, engine, or vehicle interior can occur if you drive too fast or through too deep of water. Water can cause permanent damage to engine, driveline, other vehicle components, and your brakes will be less effective when wet and muddy. Again, when driving through water, do not exceed 5 miles an hour. Always check the water depth before entering as a precaution, and check all fluids afterwards. Driving through water may cause damage and may not be covered under a new vehicle warranty. Okay, let that sink in. Before you cross any type of water, as you approach any type of water, you need to determine if you can cross it safely and responsible. If necessary, get out and walk through the water or probe it with a stick. Okay, again, I've done a couple videos on this. You need to be sure of its depth, approach angle, current, and the bottom conditions. Current meaning not the current conditions, but how is there any current moving through there, like moving water, and the bottom condition. Okay, is it muddy, or is it soft sand, or is it hard gravel bottom, or what's down there? Be careful of murky and muddy waters. Check for hidden obstacles, meaning somebody else got stuck there and put a bunch of sticks and branches and logs in there, or anything they could find, floor mats, or bricks, or anything to help them get unstuck, and they left them in there. Now, here's another one here too. Make sure you will not be intruding on any wildlife. Okay, pay attention to that stuff. But down here in the south, that means you better be careful when you're walking and checking these holes, because you might kick up a gator. You don't want to step on a gator when you're walking holes. And you can recover the vehicle. So make sure you will not be intruding on any wildlife, and you can recover the vehicle if necessary. The key to safe crossing is water depth, current, and bottom conditions. I say it again. On soft bottoms, the vehicle will sink in, effectively increasing the water level on the vehicle. Be sure to consider this when determining the depth and the ability to safely cross. Now we got crossing. I mean, look at this. I mean, we're already like a half hour into this. Isn't this amazing? This is in an actual new vehicle manual. Crossing puddles, pools, flooded areas, and other standing water. Puddles, pools, flooded, and other standing water are normally contain murky or muddy waters. These water types normally contain hidden obstacles, again left from other vehicles, and make it difficult to determine an accurate water depth, approach angle, and bottom condition. Murky or muddy water holes are where you want to hook up your tow strap prior to entering. This makes for a faster, cleaner, and easier recovery. If you are able to determine you can safely cross, then proceed using a low and slow method. Okay. Caution, muddy waters can reduce the cooling system effectiveness by depositing debris into your radiator. Okay, a lot of vehicles are prone to that. You start going through a lot of mud, you'll get your temp gauge is going to start flashing at your temp light. It's because your radiator is clogged with mud. You need to, there are people that will literally take super soaker squirt guns in the field with them, so they can fill up in a creek or in the water, and they can use that high pressure, that super soaker squirt gun to rinse the radiators out. Crossing ditches, streams, shallow river, and other flowing water. Okay, flowing water can be extremely dangerous. Never attempt to cross a fast-running stream or a river, even in shallow water. Fast-moving water can easily push your vehicle downstream, sweeping it out of control. Even in very shallow water, a high current can still wash the dirt out from around your tires, putting you and the vehicle in jeopardy. There is still a high risk of personal injury and vehicle damage with slower water currents in depth greater than a vehicle's running ground clearance. Okay, you should never attempt to cross flowing water which is deeper than a vehicle's ground clearance, for sure, because if it starts hitting the bottom, if it starts hitting your rockers in the side of the vehicle, it's got a huge surface to push on, and a real good chance it's going to push away then. Even the slowest current can push the heaviest vehicle downstream and out of control in water deep enough to push against the large surface area of the vehicle's body. Before you proceed, determine the speed of the current, the water's depth, the approach angle, bottom condition, and if there are any obstacles, then cross at an angle heading slightly upstream using a low and slow technique. Okay, so there it is right there. Again, here's another warning that they got to put in there: never drive through fast-moving water. It can put you at risk, obviously. And then that pretty much is that part. And it says after you driving off-road operation puts more stress on your vehicle than does most on-road driving. After going off-road, it's always a good idea to check for damage. That way you can get any problem taken care of right away and have your vehicle ready when you need it. Completely inspect underbody of your vehicle. Check your tires, body structure, steering, suspension, driveline, and exhaust for damage. Check the radiator for mud and debris and clean as required. Check threaded fasteners for loosening, particularly on a chassis, drivetrain components, steering, and suspension. Retighten as required and torque to the value specified in the manual. Check for accumulations of plants or brush. These things can become fire hazards, especially if they get jammed up next to the exhaust. They might hide damaged fuel lines, brake hoses, axle pinion seals, and propeller shafts. After extended operation in mud, sand, water, or similar dirty conditions, have the radiator, fan, and brake rotors, wheels, brake linings, and axle yokes inspected and cleaned as soon as possible. Inspect vent or clutch vent holes in a manual transmission bell housing for mud and debris, and clean as required. Okay, so they're basically telling you make sure you clean this stuff. But I love this little note they put in right here too. I talk about this in videos all the time on both of my channels. If you experience, down here at the bottom, if you experience unusual vibration after driving in mud, slush, or similar conditions, check the wheel for impacted materials. Impacted materials can cause wheel imbalance and freezing the wheels out of its correct and freeing the sorry, let me start over. I was watching my highlighter. Check the wheels for impacted material. Impact material can cause a wheel imbalance, and freeing the wheel of it will correct the situation. Basically what they're saying is when you go through mud and then you park your car and you eat lunch, you're going to get mud that's going to stick on the inside of your rim. It's going to jam up on the inside, you know, on the back side, and it's going to just dry there, and it's going to hold. Snow will do it too. It will freeze because your tires and everything down there are hot when you're driving. Then you park and it turns into a solid block of ice on there, and then when you go to drive, you now have a 1 pound weight of mud or ice stuck on one side of your wheel, and as you drive, your wheels are completely out of balance until you clean that stuff out of there, is what they're telling you. Happens all the time, and yeah, you just gotta take care of that. So, but that's that part of that. This is in a Jeep brand new vehicle manual. I love this that they give you that. I mean, this is like an off-road 101 course for everybody that needs to know, and they put it right here in the manual. So I hope you enjoyed that part. Now, if you want to learn about using like how to get into 4-low, stuff like that, things like that, I'm going to go through that part right now for everybody that wants to. And if you don't, you already know how to do that, you don't care, then you can end this video right here. Let's go to that 4-wheel drive operation right here. 4-position transfer case if equipped, 2 high. We're just going to get into the basics here. I'm going to kind of breeze through some of it because we are already half hour or 35 minutes into this video. You can shift from 2 high to 4 high going down the road. You want to do it in a straight line. Do not do it while you're turning. But going from 2 high to 4 high is fine. They recommend doing that shift under 45 miles an hour. Okay, let off the gas, and you can just go ahead and shift right while you're rolling, and it will go right into gear between 2 high, 4 high, not a big deal. You cannot shift into 4 low until you get into neutral. Okay, we'll cover that here for you. Now, something to note, many people don't understand. Neutral on your gear select on your 4-wheel drive gear selector is not the same as neutral on your drive select lever. Okay, on your actually where you got reverse and park and all that. That neutral is completely different than a neutral on your 4-wheel drive shift lever if you have a manual shifter like I have in the Gladiator and we have in the 4Runner. That neutral on the 4-wheel drive lever disengages the front and the rear axles completely for a tow condition if you want to tow it behind an RV. If you put it in that, your park does not work. Okay, you put it in neutral, it's gone. Okay, it's going to roll away. So you got to understand that. The only time you ever shift into neutral or stop in a neutral position on your 4-wheel drive shifter is if you are going to tow it. When you go from 2 high to 4 high, you just pull it straight down into 4 high. When you are going to go from 4 high to 4 low, you do not go to 4 high to neutral and stop there. You go 4 high straight to 4 low. Pass right by neutral. It is only there for towing purposes for the most part. Now, when you want to, it says it right here too, I think it does. It's all here for you, so you can read that right here if you want to. Like I said, we're going to start moving quicker. Neutral on that 4-wheel drive shifter right here. This range disengages both front and rear drive shafts of the powertrain. Okay, to be used for flat towing behind another vehicle. Okay, there it is. 4 low. Okay, you cannot get into 4 low the same way. You can't just shift into 4 low. Many people know that. 4-wheel drive, they recommend you do not exceed 25 miles per hour, and you only use 4 low on slippery traction surfaces. Okay, right here, slippery road surfaces only. Do not exceed 25 miles per hour. Okay, to get into for low, I'm going to tell you exactly what they do. I love the way they say it because they put it on here so perfectly. We're going to read it. Starting here, right here. The transfer case is intended to be driven in too high position for normal street and highway conditions such as hard surface roads. In the event extra traction is required, the transfer case for high and for low positions can be used to lock the front and rear drive shafts together, forcing the front and rear wheels to rotate at the same speed. For high and for low positions are intended for loose, slippery surfaces only, not intended for normal driving. Driving in for high and for low positions on hard surface roads will cause increased tire wear and damage to the drive line. That is, again, that's why you don't want to be turning when you're doing it. The instrument, so that's not going to matter too much right here on a Jeep. When operating in for low, the engine speed will be approximately 4 times for a Rubicon model than that of too high or for high positions given the road speed. Take care to not overspeed the engine. Basically, you're getting better gearing, more powerful low-end gearing. Here's the shifting part I wanted to show you. Okay, so I told you shift to too high, for high. They say it right here again too. Preferred shifting speed would be up to 45 miles an hour. Not a problem. Now, going from for high to for low, this part right here, this is what we are after and interesting for many people. With the vehicle rolling at 1 to 3 miles per hour, okay, so you are basically, you came to a stop almost, but you are rolling very slowly at 1 to 3 miles per hour. You do this for gear engagement, okay, for the teeth on the gears to mesh and line up, okay. With the vehicle rolling at 1 to 3 miles per hour, shift the automatic transmission, your main transmission, not your four-wheel drive one yet. You're still in for high there, but shift your main transmission lever into neutral. While you are rolling at 1 to 3 miles per hour, shift the main transmission into neutral. While the vehicle is coasting at 1 to 3 miles an hour with it in neutral, shift the transfer case lever firmly down into the for low position. Do not pause the transfer case in neutral. Once shifting is completed, place the automatic transmission in drive and release the clutch or the manual transmission, okay? So there you go. So that's how they're telling you to do it. Place the transmission back into drive. So you kind of want to do that while you're rolling to get that for high to kick in. And the reason for that is, again, you want those gears to mesh up. Shifting into or out of for low is possible with the vehicle completely stopped. However, difficulty may occur due to the mating teeth not being properly aligned. Several attempts may be required for clutch teeth alignment and a shift completion to occur. The preferred method is a vehicle rolling at 1 to 3 miles per hour. Avoid attempting to engage or disengage for low with the vehicle moving faster than 3 miles per hour. So there you go. Okay, that's basically it. The rest, like I said, go read this stuff. There's some incredible information. Even if you don't own a Jeep, there is absolutely amazing information in here. I cannot believe that we are 45 minutes into this video already. I thought this was going to be like a 15-minute deal because, like I said, I read this. But there you go. That is right there in the Jeep manual is a crash course 101, almost more advanced course on how to use a four-wheel drive vehicle off-road. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. And again, sorry it took so long. I didn't think it'd be this long, but we'll be back with more stuff for you soon. All right, have a good one.